Okay, so last week we were doing a menu and I ran out of time. I had an error and then I didn't have time to fix it. And where we left it was basically here. So we had a menu for desktop, only visible in desktop, and a menu that was a button visible in mobile. And then when we click, we had this error. And the reason for this error was because when I passed the function here in the, so this dot toggle is visible. First of all, a function should be invoked, and I wasn't invoking it. So how do I invoke it? Can you see it? Do I zoom it a bit more? Parentheses. Okay. But because we are updating the state, and this state is going to re-render on each update, what do you think is going to happen? So we're going to run this function, and then the state is going to be updated, and then it's going to render again, and then this function is going to run again, and then the state is going to be updated again, and then again, and again. It's an infinite. Break it?
Yeah, no, it's stopping it. But you keep looping, right?
Yeah, it's going to keep looping because I'm invoking it straight away. So, but I want to invoke it only when we click. So,
you need to have the event handler on click, is that it?
yes. But I'm going to show you first the error. So, yeah, maximum update depth exceeded. This can happen when a component repeatedly calls set state. So basically, we are on an infinite loop because I'm calling it straight away. So I should call it a condition. I don't know. No, basically it's like this. We pass it inside another function, and then when we click, it's going to be returned, and then the menu, yeah, like this. And now it works. Okay, so this was the workshop of last week. I start with the workshop of today.
And there's a quick note on that. So, as you've seen, it's to me it feels a bit weird, the syntax we have to follow, but it's what it is, right? That's the way it works. So there's nothing else we can do. However, have you heard about hooks? React hooks? Have you heard about that before? Yeah? So, once, okay, fantastic. So this is the second time. So we'll do a workshop about hooks. So hooks is the new and trendy way of working with React components. Thanks to hooks, the process of dealing with callback functions, parentheses, arrows, stuff like that gets massively simplified. Yeah? That's something pretty new. And the main reason why we didn't talk about hooks yet is because even if we learn hooks from scratch, you are likely, if you want to work in a company, you are likely to land on a project where they don't use hooks. So you will be expected to be able to deal with classic React code. Yeah? But in the long term, if you start creating a project in React tomorrow, you are not likely to follow this style. Yeah? So we will see the differences between hooks versus stateful components. And so we will essentially present the same example built in both ways.
I have a question. So in that kind of the function that we actually use, the empty function, I've seen some examples that there would be like an E or something else past there. So what's the actual standard?
It's a good point. So that E, you know what that E stands for?
Something iterative.
No. E is a shorthand of event. Many developers, they think like typing is an expensive thing, right? So they like to save some character while typing. I'm against using E. I prefer to write event because it's more explicit. in this particular case, you don't really care about the event details, but for instance, imagine something we may be covering in a future workshop, that we are dealing with an input text. Yeah? So you want to type some text on the screen, and obviously you want to capture what the user is typing, because based on what the user is typing, you may want to trigger an action or a different one. Imagine that you are validating an email address. Yeah? So if the email address doesn't incorporate any @ symbol, you may want to show an error. If the email address has satisfied some standards, then you want to display, yes, the email address is valid. Yeah? So you want to definitely capture the information that the user is typing. Or you know that, please enter the password and confirm the password. At some point you want to really evaluate if password and confirm password fields match, because if they don't match, you want to vomit an error. So in these particular cases, we will use the event object. So we will see how JavaScript and React manage to offer you as a developer the information about what the user is typing about. But in this case, we don't really care, right? We just care about when the user clicks on the event. We don't care the exact pixel the user is clicking. We don't care about how long the user is pressing the button. We don't care about the details of the user interaction.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to the other workshop. We're going to talk about React user events. So basically we have an app, then I'm going to create a new component. It's going to be a stateful component. So how do I start? Sorry? I don't know. Capture user events, for instance. But it's stateful.
Stateful.
Yes.
Okay.
So class. Now the name.
The name.
So capture. Right. User event. Yes. Capital. Yes. Very well. Extends React.component. Yes. Constructor. Very well. Now super, and we initialize the state. Okay. So afterwards, what do we write? What do we type? Render. Sorry. Then a div. This. And then welcome to events. Okay, let's. So now, is this enough, or do we need to do something else? So we have to render it, right? Right, capture. Oops. Let's close. Sorry? Is it the same as what? Sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah, this is like if you want to write something inside, or then you can use the other. You can open the opening tag and the closing tag, but because it's self-closing, we can do it like this. Now let's check that it's rendering. Yes, it's rendering. Okay. So now inside this component, I'm going to have a button, and someone else can tell me how to render a button.
Tag button.
Yes, button. Okay. and let's say click me. Okay. So now we have to control this component. I have a syntax error. Oh yes, of course, always the same thing, because we need a parent diff. So let's say now button. Okay, so how do I control this component? So I need, like, I want, first of all, let's check that it's rendering. Yes, it's here, but we can't do anything because it's not controlled. So in order to control it, yes, sorry, on click. And what do I pass inside on click? Sorry? Parentheses, arrow, yes, and now? Okay, so let's say, okay, I'm going to, for now, display an alert. And
Just be careful with the capital C. You see on click, there's a big C. If you know a bit of JavaScript, HTML, you may remember that it's all in lowercase. But in React, because of a reason, they change it to capital C.
okay, so what is going to happen when I click? Or what should happen? An alert saying click. Okay, so now I want to store a message in the state, but before I want to remove that function from there and give it a name to make it more readable or semantic. So let's call it, I don't know, handle click, or so handle click. Okay, parentheses, and now to store something on the state, to update the state, what should I do? Does someone else a part of Wiki know? Exactly. So this dot set state. Oh, sorry. And what else now? So we didn't give a property name. So button clicked. Or is, yeah, let's say button clicked for now. Let's say no. And then what do I write now? If I want to change it to yes. And yes. No? Okay, and now I want to display this somewhere. So I'm going to create, I'm going to create another div. And how do I display the message in state? Sorry? To what? I can't. To be a button. I want to display what is stored in the state. So a message like, was the button clicked? So curly brackets. This dot state button clicked. Okay, and what is this going to display? Yes, but I want to display was the button clicked, and then either yes or no. how do I write it? How do I type it? Where do I have to put the message? So we, on the div, we just write it like HTML. So was the button clicked? And then let's check that it works. So for now it's no. And then when we click, up, I have to change the function. Yes. So exactly, remove this function from here and call this function. So how do I do it? So this dot, this dot handle click, like this. I just want to use the function, not so the handle click. So would this work? Okay, like otherwise we are going to have the error I had last week. And what is this? What is going to happen now? Yes. Why? Why do we need the arrow function? What is going to happen otherwise? Exactly. We are going to be in an infinite loop because it's going to update state, then it's going to render, and while rendering, it's going to update state again, and like that forever. So
that's sorry. Before you do the parentheses.
Yes.
So that piece of code is classic in a job interview. Yeah. You go to a company, they present you that snippet. And they tell you, hey, it doesn't work. We don't know why. We've got 10 senior developers making 1,200 a day each, and they didn't figure out what the hell is going on here. So can you, future junior developer, making a fraction of their salary, figure out why this is not working? Yeah. So obviously, that's they want to prove, essentially, if you understand React's life cycle. Because if you are able to provide a meaningful answer to the problem, you really demonstrate, how methods in React get involved.
Okay. So the way to do it is arrow function.
There are, yes.
Longer syntax.
Yeah. So the thing is, this is bullshit, personally, because that's hard to explain. I mean, the thing is,
Not very descriptive.
as an example, the last workshop of every bootcamp talks about this problem, because that's a mind-blowing thing about how JavaScript works. So there is nothing we can easily demonstrate why this is needed. You just have to get used to it. And depending on where do you check on the internet, they may offer you different alternatives. To me, personally, even though this is completely random, is the easiest one to remember. That's why this is the one that we officially show here. When talking about hooks, you will see how massively that gets simplified, but that's a separate story.
Okay. So let's check that it works now. So if we click, oh yes, oh, but now,
Because we can have another bit of code which will put it back to 9.
okay,
But that's controversial, because the message is, was the button click? If I click 20 times, why should we change the message to no?
so now we can probably change, I don't know, we can change it to another message that could be true or false, for instance, or yes or no.
Can we talk about the testcode.com when you add like artichokes to your favorite list or to
Yeah, it's favorite, for instance.
You click on the heart icon, and then if you click again, that's removed right from your favorite list.
So it's favorite or
Random, right?
favorite. And now let's say here is favorite. And is favorite. Yeah, and that should be it. So, how do I make it a toggle change between is favorite or is not favorite, back and forth? Let's check that it works. Sorry, I have to change this. So is favorite. So how do I change it?
Conditional statement.
Or we put the set state. Say it is not this state that is favorite.
Very well. You went one step further than when, because I wanted to first show to change it from yes to no, and then the short way to do it is making it a boolean. So if we make is favorite to false instead of no, and then is favorite equals to, or sorry, is favorite not this dot state that is favorite. Okay, so will this work now? Exactly. Very well.
Line number 17 is favorite.
Should be, sorry?
Capital favorite. Capital letter is favorite.
Yes. No. No. No, because it's not capital here. Sorry.
The F.
No, the
F.
state.
Ah, the F, sorry. Yes. Okay.
You don't
So-
need to go to the teacher, right?
So- So now- Exactly. So now, so I want to render either yes or no. So yes, colon. Sorry. No. And let's check. Is favorite? No. Yeah, now it's a favorite. Now it's not favorite. Favorite or favorite? Okay.
You can see how Stefan is creating a JavaScript expression inside of the curly brace. Yeah? So when you take curly brace, you can do whatever you want. This is JavaScript code. You enter a new dimension of sex, drugs, and alcohol. You can do whatever you want in there. Yeah?
Yeah. Do we put a semicolon at the end?
No.
Or is there
No, because no. Actually, if you try to add a semicolon, it probably won't work.
Okay.
That's the only limitation.
It's not compiling. Like if I
Yeah, you see, VS Code is immediately complaining. You see?
unexpected token. Yes.
From all this part, the part that don't really understand is the last sentence when you say this dot state that is favorite, yes or no. Why they put this dot state and we don't put this the set state, for instance. Another set state is for specification.
Because what I want to check is if the state now is true or false. Because that way I can know is it favorite or not. And then depending on what it, if it's favorite, I would display yes, otherwise no.
It's not necessary that we always need to put it that way. We can add anything.
Like where exactly?
So in the last one, we just return the initial, we just return what we want from the initial state on the last sentence, because we say this to state dot is favorite, we just return the initial.
But it's not the initial because it's the initial the first time. Then once we click, it's no longer the initial. So can someone tell me what is going to be like? So I'm going to explain. So when you first render the component, this is going to be this function constructor is going to run, and then it's going to set the initial state. Then the render function is going to run. It's going to display the initial state. And then once you click, you are going to change the state, and the render function is going to be triggered again.
So that this state is favored would then change to true.
Yes. When you click, you change the state to true, or to false if it's true.
If we want to display just true or false for this, in that condition, will we just keep it state of this favorite?
If we do that, React is not going to display a boolean. Like, we could do it as a string, but like,
It's a good question. No, React, Stefan is right. React doesn't display Boolean. You cannot display true or false. Try it. Just
Yeah.
remove the ternary,
let's do it.
and if that won't work. Probably that won't throw any error.
No.
It will display nothing. It's favorite and then question mark and nothing on it.
Nope.
See? Yeah, that's
But
a
the
reason.
state is so
Yeah, the state is correct. Yeah, the state is correctly updated, but it cannot be displayed. That's why you need a weird ternary.
So now, on click is one event, but there are more events. We can listen to other events. There's a lot of events. Like if I do on, like, all of these are events, are user events. So-
Was there a on volume down event?
Is it
You see
all
that?
that or
Probably,
Let's go down.
yes.
On volume, please keep going, please. On volume.
On volume
Volume
change.
change. Never seen that. Interesting. You can control with JavaScript. The user changes the volume of
So
the.
if decrease volume, increase volume.
Exactly. Decrease volume, increase volume, multiply by 10.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try on mouse enter, for instance. And now, but before this, I'm going, imagine I want to make like a log, like a list of messages. Each time the button is clicked, I want to store a message, like to make a log, like with all the clicks, like so. On state, I'll write logs, and then an array, and then inside handle click, I'm going to let logs. Are you familiar with this thing? So this is basically the same as this.state.logs, but by doing this, I only need to write logs each time I want to use it.
Variable.
Yes, exactly, because this.state.logs is going to be stored in the variable logs. So now when I want to use it, how do you add an element to an array? Do you know? An element to an array, push. So logs.push, because it's an array, and I don't know, the button was clicked. Okay, so, and after that, I'm going to update the state. So, logs, because when you want to do this, there is something called a shorthand, object shorthand.
Yeah, so that's object shorthand. So when you see the key and the value, logs and logs are the same. With modern JavaScript, you can merge them. You can just display logs, remove the colon, you see, it's the same.
It's equivalent.
Yeah, so that's object shorthand, and the one that Esteban wrote on line number 10 is object destructuring. These are two new patterns in JavaScript to facilitate the process of dealing with variables. If you don't feel familiar with that, that's fine. You can write the long version, but in the long term, it saves some keystrokes. Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to render this array. So, do you know how to? You probably did it on Codeflix already. How to iterate over an array and modify each element of the array? Which method should we use? Dot map. Very well. So I have to change this because it's no longer favorite. So let's change it to click, or yeah, click me, and then handle click, and instead of his favorite, let's just print the logs. So inside this div we have curly braces, so we can write JavaScript. So how can I dynamically display all the elements of the array logs? Do you know? So I want to display them into a div or into a p? No, into a div. Better. So, not like this. Sorry. So the logs, this dot state dot logs, and now what? Dot map. Very well. Logs, you said?
So it's
Sorry?
it's log arrow. because
Log.
You want to iterate on everything.
Very well. Log, arrow.
And what do you want to do?
I want to display, to create a div on each element of the log with the text of the log inside. No, because the console is going to display it on the console. I want to display it on the app.
Definitely follows with the log again.
So we want to display divs. So div, and then let's close it. Inside, very well. What do I put? Sorry. Well, I want to display the log. Curly braces and log. Okay, so let's see if this works. So the button was clicked. Nice. So now, because there are other events, I want to listen to, for instance, on mouse enter. And when I could write another function, but instead of that, we are going to reuse this function to be able to use them in both cases. So when we are clicking, it's going to display the button was clicked, and we enter on basically on mouse enter. What does is, look, it's not rendering because okay. So on mouse enter is like when you hover, it's going to trigger the event. So when we hover, I want to display a message. The button was hovered, or the mouse, the pointer is on the button. Better. So how do I do it? Can you think about how to do it?
Do we have the brackets and then the arrow?
Exactly. So because I said we were going to reuse the function, so I'll write the same function. But sorry. So this dot handle click. Okay, but now it's going to do. I want to show you. You see, I'm not clicking, but it's really nice. It's really cool. So I want to display a different message. So we need to pass it to the function. So we do message. Oh, sorry, not message here. Message here. and yes, and we have to push what? The message. And now, where do I have to write the message? Inside the handle click. So here is going to be the button was clicked, and here is going to be the pointer is on the button. And now let's see if it works. So pointer is on the button, pointer is on the button, click, 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 pointer is on the button. Nice. So yes. And yeah, and let me try another event. So this time you're going to tell me how to do it. So I'm going to try on mouse leaf. It's very semantic. So what do you think this is going to do? When you leave the mouse.
When you don't hover on the button.
When you when the pointer gets out of the button.
But you think I'm going further?
Sorry.
It's always outside the button. Right?
So if we go, sorry, it's not running.
That was a bad example.
So if look, Declan. So if I hover, it's on the button. If I stop hovering, it's outside of the button.
It happens only once, unless you hover the button again and you leave again.
That's the same as if you leave it there.
So
The event is not I'm out from the button. The event is I'm leaving the button. It only happens every time you leave the button.
so
Guys,
brackets.
that's not brackets.
Oh,
When
yes,
when British English, you don't have parentheses. Parentheses, guys. Come on, I'm Spanish. I know that.
Just keep saying what we have right.
Alright, this start handle.
This is the handle click.
Alright, yeah, then parentheses.
Yes.
Yeah, then close, yeah.
I'm outside of the
I'm leaving.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm
Like that.
Oops. Wait a second. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see if this works. Pointer's on the button. I'm leaving.
Very nice.
Yep. Okay. So I don't know. Should I talk on
No, I
anything?
think that's it. I just have one concern. So if you had to review that piece of code, can you please Esteban show the code again?
Yes.
So from a
Consistency.
semantics point of view, can you see anything extremely smelly?
The quotes are inconsistent.
The quotes, alright, yeah, actually, listen, that's a good point. The quotes are inconsistent. However, Esteban changed or broke the consistency on purpose
Yeah.
to facilitate the process of adding the
Yeah.
That was
apostrophe. Yeah? But there is something way worse than that.
Kind of supposed to
indentation.
No,
So logs need to have a semicolon.
no, much worse than that. I'm not talking
be.
about. I'm not talking about like break lines or empty spaces. I'm talking about the readability of the component. Don't forget that your component should explain itself. And to me, there is something very weird in this component. Let me refresh my thoughts. If I hover the button, am I clicking at all? No,
Okay.
I'm not clicking. If I hover, I'm not clicking. However, when I hover, I'm redirecting my sexy flow to a method called handle click.
Ah, it's true. Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
So that method shouldn't be called handle click. It makes sense at the beginning, because at the beginning the goal was to handle the click.
Yes.
But now it's a general purpose event, yeah?
Mhm.
But this usually, for this you need to know like
Yeah.
So handle mouse event, for
I
instance.
like that, handle mouse event. If in the future we add, for instance, keyboard events, then we will have to refactor it again. But for now, handle mouse event, I think is fantastic, because we are definitely dealing with mouse events.
So,
yeah.
okay. And there was another thing that I didn't realize. I didn't set a key here because we need to create a unique key for each element that gets dynamically generated.
So why we need to add a key?
The key is used to have access, like when you have a door you want to open, so you have access for every single element. This how I understand, you have access.
So you're telling me how the key of your door works. I didn't get that. But
Yes, it's important to have access to every single element possible, to identify from which area you're talking about.
that's a good thing. So when you create a list of elements, in other words, every time you use map, essentially you're creating a list of elements. You may be thinking, all right, React display them, and then that's it. No, React really needs to be aware of any potential changes. Imagine that you have a button to sort the results, yeah? Or to change the data, or to click on an element. You may want to interact with a lot of elements, yeah? So React really needs to identify each element individually. The way React identifies elements individually is through a weird attribute called the key. That's why every time you use map, you always have to use the key. And you may be thinking, wait a minute, but it's working without the key. Yes, it's working here, but if now we wanted to add some complexity, at some point it will stop working.
Like we add more arrays in map, then we need to have a key to look which array is looking.
Exactly. That's a convention. You just have to get used to that. That's the way React works. Yeah. However, there is something challenging here. You may have not noticed. So what was the key?
What's the name?
What's the value? That's a good question. Can we call it log?
What do you think?
I mean, we can put anything we want.
What is going to be the log?
Or ID, just ID.
And what is the ID?
Okay.
What is the idea? Exactly. That's the problem. What is the idea? Index. What is the index? Can we first of all call it log and see what happened?
Yes.
You are for different types.
That's what it means.
Yeah, I guess.
So you need the with that no
No? You don't want me to?
refresh, and now DevTools.
Yes, that's
And
what I
now let's
was.
see what happens, step by step. Can you
So-
replace the console?
Yes, here.
Sorry. Can you submit them?
Yes. So wait a second. Here.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. So now let's start clicking like hell. Oh, you see? It worked originally, but at some point, look at what React is telling you. Warning, encounter 2 children with the same key. That's the problem. It's like keys have to be unique. So as far as the logs were unique, the pointer is on the bottom, and the button was clicked, they were different strings. But as soon as Esteban clicked twice on the button, we got 2 keys or 2 elements with the same key. The button was clicked. So that we cannot use the log as a key. We need something else.
Message?
I++, but what is I? Where is I coming from?
From Python or something. That's I.
I++ will like, I guess, you keep putting more like numbers
It's
into
the
like.
next-
Yeah, but what is I? I mean, I++ will no. I++ will be the same as Jeremy Corbyn++. It will create the same
I can
effect.
try it and we'll see. Like this? I or I++. I++.
Last time you said it. You should put it.
Nice.
Better now.
I is not defined because
Yeah.
with
Yeah, it's not
You need to define it.
Mhm.
When is something unique?
Message.
Okay, but one second, what is message?
Because the message is there.
Where? It's there where?
We have messages there.
but you are close anyway. So
Can you define I as 1 or 0 actually?
and where do I define it?
Just like where we've got the other variables.
You have to create it.
And how do you implement it? How do you implement it
Yeah.
after that?
Create a variable.
Let's create a variable and then again.
Okay, so in map we can do like this. We have the first the first argument, that is the value we are iterating on, and then the second argument is the index. And now because we have the index,
Okay.
we can use it because it's defined and it's going to be updated on each iteration. So now we are not going to have any errors because it's unique. Should I console log it?
No, that's right. No, you don't see any errors. If you check on the docs, React, you will see that React is not a big fan of using the index as the ID. What React tells you is, if your database has proper ID, like a user ID or maybe an email address, something that can identify the row in a unique way, then use it. But in some use cases scenarios like this one, there's nothing, right? There's nothing we can play with. So the index is much better than nothing. So what's the first index?
0.
0, correct? 0, 1, 2, yeah? It's a unique number. On each iteration, the number, so that's essentially the matter what you said. So it is I++, yeah? But in an automatic way. We don't have to maintain that variable. It's happening automatically.
So is the index actually like a keyword for React?
No. It's, the important thing is not the name of the variable, it's the position of the argument. So when using map, as Esteban explained, we
Of
got
course, yeah.
the first argument is always the individual element. The second argument, it's always the index. There is a third argument, but let's keep that secret for now.
So any questions? No? Okay, so I'll stop streaming, sorry.
Yes, please, stop screaming.